Well. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. A very special day with Bakkt being announced. Daddy Bakkt coming back into the market and saving everyone, all these dirty, nasty cryptocurrency boys with his lovely, girthy green dildos, shoving them up to the sky once again. And that gives us plenty to talk about as far as price action goes. We are seeing some pretty significant things going on right now as far as the greater structure goes, which is actually quite exciting because most of the action that we've seen over the past 3-4 days has mostly been low time frame bullshit, which, certainly tradable, but really we want to see the macro, we want to see resolution on the macro relatively soon, as that's the most fun part. Anyways, with all that said, it is a nice Friday, so I do want to wish you a happy Friday. I want to wish you the best, and the happiest of the happiest as always. No matter what day it is, day dependent, man. I don't judge days. I don't see colors on days. I just fucking see days. I don't even see days anymore, man. It's all just one just slow fucking trudge around the sun, essentially. Anyways, with all that said, and all that aside, I think it's time to get in the charts. So let's initiate that good teleportation. I'll see you in there on this amazing secretive Twitch stream. It looks like my swipe actually broke. Anyways, starting off here on the daily. Here's the big thing that I'm watching today. So you do see this green 50 exponential moving average coming in right around about 10,500. You're going to notice that is a major pivot on just about every time frame that we look at. But more importantly, we do have it easily and very just obvious in front of our face right here as the major resistance, kind of holding Bitcoin back from this lower level. But more importantly, I need to start off with this whole, we're still in one whole consolidation right here. I don't believe that anything's changed based off this. I believe that we've been doing the same thing for the last 2.5 months ever since we got in this region late. So that's June, July, then August. So yeah, about 2.5 months or whatever it is. So to me, this is still just one massive consolidation. If this is one massive consolidation, then we can judge the relative health of it. But basically, the reason why I think that this is a consolidation is we see falling volume going from left to right. Right on over here, we see a nice structure. I mean, that's quite an obvious structure to begin with. And then we see, more importantly, historical volatility percentile coming down and trending down ever since we kind of put in the top late June, essentially, and more importantly, just actually having that nice orderly drop off going from left here and trending well below the moving average. Not super important in its posturing around that. It's just if it's below or above, and more importantly, we do see that essentially agreeing with the whole. So all those things going to align with each other, and that does tell us that we are still just caught in one major piece of price action. So all the people saying that Bitcoin is gonna blast on to 20,000 or today, I do think that Bitcoin actually gets to 20,000 maybe even by end of year, and all the people saying that Bitcoin's gonna break down to 8,000 or 7,000 or even lower than there, I think both sides are just as usual drastically over excited about what's really mostly going to be sideways action. Although I do believe that we are getting closer and closer to resolution on this. But, again, just talking, I'm not doing anything crazy right here. I want to keep this extremely simple to kind of start off. Just looking at the overall structure, this to be true. We have a series of higher lows, but we also have a series of lower highs. What is that? I mean, what does that essentially make? It makes a fucking symmetrical triangle. And what is a symmetrical triangle? It's just one mass consolidation. There's no craziness about it. It doesn't matter what fucking name you put on it. We're just within a trading range essentially. And for the most part, when you are in an overall macro trend to the upside, you typically will give the nod to that, to that former trend. It's more statistically likely to evolve in that direction. But of course, when we're talking about the resolution of a formation like this, which has been going on for the last couple of months, I wouldn't be looking for it to be resolved. I mean, again, I'm not looking for it to be resolved today. And as you can see right here, if we actually do make if we do put some trend lines on this baby and actually kind of map this one out, you will notice that the apex on this triangle isn't coming in anytime soon. In fact, technically the apex would be coming in all the way somewhere right around here, early October. So it could even be that Bitcoin spends all of August in this region, and then sometime during September, we actually do break out. And sorry, I should explain that. The reason why I say that is because typically when you're about 69 to 75% full in a formation, that's when it's extremely likely to break. Statistically speaking, much more likely to break. And as you can see right here, we're not really there right now. Condense this down to only incorporate the bodies, which is actually, Jesus Christ, I think I can I make it fit like that? Can we get regression going on this one? I think that we can. I think that it actually will work. Even if we look at the bodies right here, you'll notice that it's about the same. In fact, actually the bodies don't work as well, but it'd be suggesting around the same area anyways. So I'm going to take these guys off, or sorry, put them back where they were. There we go. And more importantly, let's talk about the goddamn price action. So I want to start off with the expected moves indicator running over here, as we do have the man himself in the chats right now, and we do see what I confer as a bullish. Well, bullish posturing is the wrong terminology. I look at this as a nice local low posturing, like to work off of essentially a nice little base in price action. Why do I say that? When you see the expected moves with regards to historical volatility kind of contract on each other, that's essentially telling you about the price action in and of itself, that we are putting in actual base on price action, of course, because it's by the nature of it, it's fucking contracting. Duh. Anyways, more importantly, or just as important, to kind of line up volatility analysis on top of just regular technical analysis, we do see a nice massive hammer dildo being shoved in the price action yesterday, and more importantly today we actually have fall through now. This wasn't apparent when we did the early morning live stream, but a little bit later in the day, so all good. I'm hearing that the audio is clipping a little bit. Is the audio really clipping? Let me make sure. It really shouldn't be. I've actually turned down my gain quite a bit. I just turned it down a little bit more. Let me know if it's let me know if there's any more issues with it. I'm happy to try to fix it right now. But it looks like everything's fine on my end. Maybe a little bit on the red side. Perhaps I could turn it down just a smidgen more, and let's give that a go. Okay, so please do let me know if it's good or not. It's a work in progress as I keep on playing around with this Apollo Twin audio interface. Anyways, so what I've been kind of postulating over recently was combining the expected move chart with regards to historical volatility with just your basic 20 simple moving average running over here, represented by the white by the white moving average essentially. And what I've found is that when you do see the expected moves start to squeeze in a certain direction, get that slope in a certain direction, and then you see the 20 simple moving average match that slope, that's actually when you maintain your trending move. So when we have price action well above the 20 simple, but that's less important here. But when we have both the price action and the 20 simple moving average kind of moving in the same direction, so you see this area running over here where they're both kind of squeezing to the upside, that is when you're going to get your trendy behavior. And of course, just another thing kind of aligning with this overall area being one massive consolidation. Where do we see the 20 simple? It's literally right in the middle of the fucking price action. And where do we see what kind of slope do we see on it? It's completely fucking flat, man. At the end of the day, I really want to titrate everything back and put a little bit of perspective on the whole game, because yes, while I am long-term bullish, macro-term bullish, I mean, we're talking about like fucking, months and months and months down the road. We're not necessarily talking about today. During the daily, in and out intraday, all action, you could be bearish, you could be bullish a million fucking times and be right all the time as well. It switches around is what I'm trying to say. But the macro, remains pretty much, pretty much unchanged as far as the bigger picture goes. For now, what would actually change my views on the, on the macro picture? Well, I think, again, nothing's really changed for me over here as well. Any sort of move back below the blue box territory right on over here to the downside. And I would say, just reading one of these messages, Jesus Christ, man, everything's going crazy right now, isn't it? But anywhere below this 9,500-ish level, 9,400-ish level, basically where we kind of found that last wick low. And yes, I would look at this as resolution to the downside. And then we'd be talking about targets, first target would probably be like 88 to 8,900, and then we could perhaps entertain some targets below there, maybe around like 72 to 7,400 in this here. But for now. And it looks like my Twitch is actually buffaring right now, which is kind of weird. But for now, we still do have these rising lows, and more importantly, Bitcoin having a reaction off this region thus far is actually quite convincing, and I do think that we get some more fall through based upon this. Just in the most basic, we have a lot of things actually suggesting that we do. Well, I was going to say that we do test the 200 simple, but we already tested that. So can we actually break it? Do we have the momentum to break it? Well, there's two competing narratives going on right now, getting into the lower time frames now and deliberately separating the lower time frames from the medium time frames from the high and the macro time frames. Remember, high and macro time frames mostly unchanged. Medium time frames, we're about to discuss them right now, and low time frames, of course, as well. Anyways, looking at the 4 hour right here, we did get that move up to the 200 simple, which I should admit, I do have an egotistical, what's it called? What's it called? Oh man, I'm searching for the word. I can't even remember the word, but god damn it. It just felt so fucking good to see that move and see all the people who were talking a lot of shit in the comments to me over the last 24 hours. Krown, you're wrong. It's like, yeah, man, just give it a few seconds here. Come on. It's when we're talking, 1 hour after I put out these not gonna set the whole fucking, the whole thing. You have to give it some time, of course, but it was quite vindictive to see, to see that. So I have a little bit of fun in the comments over the past day, and I do apologize if anyone's caught in the crossfires. It's never intended to offend, just a little bit of shit talking, a little bit of fun over there. Anyways, looking at the 4 hour right here, we did get back up to the 200 simple as we spoke about yesterday, and so far the first push has been knocked back down as we spoke about yesterday as well. Where do we come back down to? The 377 exponential movement average, exactly as we spoke about early this morning, and now we come back into neutrality. So now becomes a fun part because we actually do have a chance to break both ways, and we actually do have a very easy way of documenting this on the lower time frames. If we break below the 377 exponential moving average right on over here at about 10,250, which is going to be our lower, I do have a blue box right on over here. If we do break below this, which I need to see like a 2 hour dildo close below there, then I would be looking for Bitcoin to give another test back down to the lows right around 98, 9,900, and at that point I don't think Bitcoin's going to come back down to this level without actually breaking lower. Technically speaking, though, like I said, about 94 to 9,500 is still your support, but I do not think that it holds the next time that if Bitcoin tests. Do not believe that it will hold. By the same token, if Bitcoin actually does take out the 200 simple right on over here on the 4 hour total time frame, then I do believe that Bitcoin's going to likely have a pretty nice move to the upside. Now, I'm not saying that this happens, the same fucking day or the same, on the same like tick or on the same second, but I do believe that Bitcoin would likely float its way up into the low 11,000s right on over here. I think 11,100 is going to be a pretty obvious target. And looking at volume profile, we do see that another area of interest is going to be right around about 11.3, actually 11.4 on this little node right here. So those would be the two kind of targets that I keep my eyes on. But I do think that 11,150 a little bit more important because that was our last prior breakdown point from 13th of August. And then of course, we did put a little bit of an accumulation phase below this from 13th of July to more recently in the 4th of August. And of course, our prior breakdown point from there as well. So going forward, it becomes a nice little pivot to be working off of, and you can get those nice moves in the lower time frames relatively quickly. Again, relatively quickly, not to be confused with the snap of a fucking Nicholas Martin's fingers, motherfucker. Jesus Christ. Just reading some comments really makes me think sometimes. It's like, all right, maybe I did a terrible job of explaining, or maybe I'm being trolled. I don't know. Anyways, looking at this right here, you do see that the volume profile is certainly aligning with this 10,600-ish region. The current area that the 200 simple moving average is essentially at. They're essentially one and the same. Whether you call it 10,550 or 10,600, it's one and the same to me. And as long as Bitcoin's below it, pressure technically is on. But I do think that actually Bitcoin does have the probably does have the strength to break it to the upside here. But again, let me separate my opinion from analysis. I don't trade my opinion, and for all of the all of the longs that I took over the last couple of days, all of them I just ended up scalping away. I'm not holding these as long as we're below the 200 simple. The next one that I do get, and if we do take out the 200 simple, I will hold it. But for now, not so much. I'm not really intent on holding anything right now. As technically as a trader, that's just one of my rules. I don't think it's wrong to hold it right here, especially if you bought anywhere below about 10,000. I think that you did a pretty damn good job. But for right now, in my own trading behavior, I'm typically more of a conservative trader overall. I'd rather defend my capital than go on the offense. And looking at this right here, more importantly, it agrees with what we're looking at. Anyways, if we take this baby off and we put on just the exponentials, nothing but the exponentials and only the exponentials, and really only the 50 and the 200, we do see that something very nasty is kind of looming overhead. We do have the 4 hour dildo death cross actually looming right overhead. As you can see, the green 50 exponential moving average rapidly approaching the purple 200 exponential moving average here. They are probably, I'd say probably about where's my goddamn chicken tendies, says Mr. Dobkin. Well, right here, my friend, right here. Gotta love it, man. Hey, it's decentralized. Nicely done, man. Nicely fucking done. Anyways, we will actually see these guys cross to the downside if Bitcoin fails to get back above about 10,700, anywhere back above the 200 exponential moving average, which is currently around 10,700. Probably within the next 2 days, I'd imagine. It will certainly elongate the time that that is needed. Close to that price action gets to the cross, of course. But here's the thing: there are two major competing narratives here, and one is massively bearish, and the other one is I wouldn't say massively bullish, but it's certainly not massively bullish. It's just more consolidation, more sideways, really within the overall greater range. But what we're looking at here is your classic textbook cross, right, where you do have your 50 and your 200 rapidly approaching each other and price actions being pulled into the cross as you want to see. So what bears want to see here is they want to see the cross happen and then price action get rejected. If that happens, that is going to be a damn good signal that this is actually going to get played out, and we're probably going to end up breaking this baby to the downside, head down towards, very, very likely 9,000, but probably even further than that, 8,500, 7,500 also in the cards as well. And then we can talk about that after that. It would imply some more long-term things, but one step at a time, of course. By the same token, sometimes what you'll see is the price action being brought up into the cross, and then as the cross is about to happen, price action shoots right the fuck through it, and that's basically a little bit of a trick by the market movers, knowing that everyone's looking at the same goddamn thing, and when everyone's looking at the same goddamn thing, they just run it up their bungholes, of course. Right here. I don't really have a full bias here. I am a little bit biased to the upside, but again, I would not trade my opinion on this one. I would rather wait for price action, and I do believe that if Bitcoin breaks above the 200 simple moving average, which is this white guy right on over here, that's going to get cut in a million different ways. But if we do break back above this region right on over here, then I do believe that Bitcoin does actually shoot past these guys and work its way into the lower 11,000s. So that's the big thing that I'm working on right now, or that I have an eye on right now. And then more importantly, we do see that so far the 200 simple is rejecting price action as it is. But I do believe it's a little bit too early to judge one of these. We need to really let it go for like another half day to a day, or if we trade back below about 10,250 and close like a 2-hour dildo below there, then I would consider that likely as a rejection, as like a confirmed rejection as well, with fall through to come, I suppose, as the death cross happens a little bit later, and then we probably come back down to the low side of the range, over time, whatever it ends up being. So that's kind of what's at stake right now. If you're looking at the lower time frames, especially coming into the weekend, which we've actually, to be fair, we've actually gotten a lot of significant price action during the weekend, for the last couple months, or at least, maybe not every weekend, but there certainly has been many weekends which have been screaming with price action. So it would be on in the back of my mind's eye to kind of understand that, yeah, we probably actually do see this happen during this weekend. So I do think that this is kind of like a ticking time bomb. As you can see, bulls can't stay here forever, and then bears also can't stay here forever. But I would say the longer that Bitcoin stays below the 200 simple, actually the more bearish that it does get. So it is a little bit more. The ball is a little bit more in the bull's cart right now. Anyways, with what we're looking at, and the reason why I do lean a little bit more to the upside is just basically looking at our lower time frame oscillators. We see 4-hour Stokes headed straight to the sky right here. More importantly, they did take out this trend line along the way, which we were looking at yesterday, and we did break back above the back above the bearish control zone right on over here. And I believe that this is essentially seen across all of our lower time frame oscillators. Here's our 3-hour Stokes actually really scooting on to the upside right there. 2-hour Stokes going to be up as well, and then hourly Stokes are going to be weak up, but they're kind of getting stuck up there right now. Anyways, more importantly, I'm gonna go over here and look at the 12-hour, and we look at the 12-hour right here right now, and we do see that last move last night came down to the 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average getting picked up right around there. Perfect fucking buy. If you bought that one, I think you did a phenomenal job. Just like the people who shorted anywhere above 11,000 on that last drop below the yellow 21 exponential moving average on the daily, they did a phenomenal job as well. It's both the same trade in my opinion, and equally valid. So after, what do you do essentially? And let me just put back on all these major moving averages because, well, I feel like I'm flying blind right now. There we go. Alrighty. Anyways, looking at this right here right now, I do want to take care of my lower time frame, of my momentum oscillators right here, which we do see our 12-hour Stokes crossing back up fresh to the upside. More importantly, we do see that 12-hour Stokes have been phenomenally getting this consolidation the whole way through. Each and every one of these crosses from the from this region right on over here have been the tops within this consolidation. Same with these guys right on over here. This last one was the 28th of July. That was coming out of this 9,500-ish base right on over here. The time before that was this July 17th base coming in out of about 9,200, and then the time before that was right in over here. It actually gotten them even better than any other time frame, pretty damn easy. As Bitcoin comes back down again, I just see a text that we just got a big long liquidated. Anyways, looking at this and kind of judging this overall, I would say that would be a little bit more on the bullish side, and does show that we actually have the momentum kind of built up to actually break this next level, which would change the medium time frame perspective and allow that next run up into the lower 11,000s. At that point in time, after if and when Bitcoin does get there, then I would be looking to go back to neutral once again with just kind of an intentful eye on the price section, not really wanting to do anything as the higher time frames at that point in time are going to start to take over, which we don't really know where they are right now, of course. Anyways, looking at the 12-hour and then kind of comparing that with the daily, we do see, matching that up with the daily, we do see that the daily RSI is actually having some hidden bullish divergence here. Typically, when I do see some hidden bullish divergence, I want to see a move back up to test around on this baby, and usually it's going to line up with one of the major one of the major moving averages as well, typically the 21, but not always. In this case, I would say probably likely, and that's currently at around 10.8 region. But obviously the first, the big thing kind of staring us in the eye is this 50 exponential that we're kind of staring at right now. So here's the thing: if Bitcoin can close today's daily, and this is like probably the biggest part of a video like this, if Bitcoin can close today's daily above the 50 exponential moving average, then yes, we probably do head up into that lower 11,000-ish region and test around 11.1 to 11.3, 11.1 to 11.3-ish region. So a nice I guess that would be about $700-800 trade perhaps on the table. So certainly very tradable, but at the end of the day, we need to actually see this happen first and foremost before that becomes the primary read, I suppose, the actual action to take. Right now it's just postulating momentum masturbation essentially. Looking at our daily right now as well, I want to check out the other momentum oscillators. We don't really see anything too interesting from the daily. Stocks are actually still down right now, heading into the bearish control zone, and they actually will get next tick if Bitcoin essentially closes anywhere below, I don't know, about 10.3 it looks like. Hard to kind of judge it right now, and we're about 45 minutes away from the daily to close, so we should be able to get this video out before then. And going over here to the 2-day, I do want to check this baby out as well. The 2-day is quite interesting to me. You do see that the 50 exponential moving average has accurately grabbed the low, and then more importantly, we're very likely to close below the yellow 21 exponential moving average right on over here, which to me does align with likely giving a little bit of a try higher, probably towards the red 10 simple over sometime over the weekend. And of course, the red 10 simple actually a little bit higher than what we looked at on the lower time frames, but more importantly, if we could actually test around that region, then Bitcoin likely will get an actual chance to close a 4-hour dildo above that next critical zone essentially, and that's going to have more downside implications. And of course, that would look like this having a hammer dildo, then plus follow through, plus continuation, blah 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 blah. You get the point, right? And then we'll probably test up into the mid to low 11,000s, but not really too much else to say about it other than that. Look like we're going to get this close, and this is going to be a pretty damn good close for the 2-day little time frame right on over here. We do see 2-day Stokes actually down right now, so that would be a little bit of a point of contention right now. Don't want to see that happen, because one of the big things that was making me a little more optimistic on the whole was that we were seeing the 2-day and the 3-day Stokes to the upside, which is typically, historically speaking, a pretty damn good signal. But we don't really see that right now, actually. And in fact, the 2-day are about less than an hour away from confirming across the downside. I do want to check out the 3-day as well, as we're going to be closing this time frame later tonight, tonight, like literally in 44 minutes now, and it looks to me like we are going to get picked up off the yellow 20 exponential moving average. That's currently at around 10.250. So again, another major area aligning with that 10.250ish region. Just looking at the comments, making sure that my audio is okay. All right, there we go. There you go. Anyways, all good, man, all good. Does anyone know how many Bitcoin Bakkt has locked up? I don't think that they can. I don't think anyone, probably nobody but Bakkt knows that. Anyways, looking at the 3-day right here, it would have been a lot more confidence inducing if we could actually close the 3-day dildo above the red 10 simple. That would have immediately made me bullish for that next move, into the 11,000s. But it looks like we're not going to get that, or at least we're a little bit more than $100 off that area, with again less than an hour to go till this closure. Which again, crazier things have happened than seeing like $100 dildo within the span of less than an hour. And actually Bitcoin maybe Bitcoin just heard me right now, because it's actually ticking back up, and there it is, less than $100 now. Not bad. But more importantly, looking at our oscillators right here, we don't really see too many things of interest. We do see 3-day Stokes up. I do like that. It's generally a good thing. Typically the 3-day Stokes have actually gotten price action pretty damn well. Getting the last massive move to the upside out of this February 2019 base right on over here, and then of course getting the last major move to the downside from this 14,000 high right on over here. But looking at our 3-day RSI right here, we don't really see anything like too interesting. I mean, I do see a falling wedge that broke to the upside, but getting faded this far does suggest that this actually did fail a little bit, especially if we take just anywhere lower. So this next 3-day dildo is going to be quite important. with the way that kind of floats around. But as long as we're below the exponential, I actually don't like it all that much, and would say that it's going to look a little bit more like a failure rather than something good. And taking all these babies back off again and going back into lower time frames, I do want to check the very, very low time frames, like an hourly. Yeah, looking like we're still finding resistance right around this region right here. Again, right below this next blue box territory, which is the area that I'm really keeping an intentful eye on, and that should naturally line up. I want to make sure that this actually lines up with the 4-hour. Just make sure right in over here. Actually, it is a little bit lower. Let me just adjust this. And I want to have it between the white 200 simple and the purple 200 exponential moving average, which is accurately right there. In fact, perfect. There we go. Between about 10,550 and now about 10,700, we'll call it. So about, a little bit less than a $200 range. Anyway, still, what, 41 minutes and 15 seconds left to go on this daily dildo. I do think that we're actually going to see some fighting over price action from this region. Okay, so I also want to talk about this, and maybe I mentioned this at the beginning of this video, but hey, on the lower time frames, just like this area is critical for the bulls to get back above, this area right on over here, 10,250, I would say is pretty damn important for bears to get back below. But the ball right now is in the bulls' court. They actually do have to respond on this price action with regards to how we're kind of setting up all these major moving averages within this region. It is going to, it would be a little bit more bearishly biased if Bitcoin does get back above this region relatively soon, basically before the 4-hour dildo death crosses, which, like I said, it's a little bit hard to kind of gauge when it's going to happen because it's going to be more reactive to recent price action. And I would, if I had to pester a gander, I suppose I'd say maybe 2 days, maybe a little bit less than 2 days. But the closer that Bitcoin price action gets to that cross, the less and less time that it will, the more and more time it'll take to actually get that cross, because by the nature of them, they're going to be reactive to that, right? Anyways, check out CMEs for a second. CMEs right in over here, and on the daily, CMEs actually had a pretty damn good close on the daily. I would say closing back above yesterday's daily. We didn't regain any major moving averages here, to be fair. So it's not like, it's not too confidence inducing, and we are closed for the week. More importantly, on CMEs, and I believe that post market did close 10,515. So we did not close above the red 10 simple. Quite significant to me. If I was going to be bullish coming into next week, I really wanted to see CMEs close above the red 10 simple. Is it a death sentence? No, not necessarily. But I would have expected that if we were going to remain bullish, we would have seen that weekly close above that region. So that is a little bit of a blow to the bulls right there. And I want to check GBTC as well and see if GBTC mimics that. And if we see it on GBTC, the same sort of thing, that's going to be, oh man, god damn it, GBTC. Yeah, close below the red 10 simple right there as well. So not so nice. Of course, though, until it actually happens on the spot, technically not fully confirmed, but these subsidiaries should hold some weight and actually typically do show where we're going to close the weekly more accurately, which is quite helpful when we can see that on Friday, but we have to wait until Sunday for spot charts to get it. Anyway, spot charts, as you can see, the 10 simple moving average on the weekly is where it's at that critical 10,550-ish region, right? The 4-hour 200 simple, also our next major blue box territory, and just kind of like the gatekeeper for those medium time frames to kind of switch around, switch the bias around. So if you are kind of following up from this morning's video, or sorry, from this morning's live stream, we already got that move. We already got the move back up to about 10,550, whatever it was. And now I would be more neutral than anything and just kind of wait for price action to kind of transpire, because that was the easy part of the move. That was the part of the move. Now, while I do think Bitcoin gives another test into that region, until we actually fully and formally confirm above it, it is still a little bit of a risky trade. And any trade is going to have inherent risk on it. It's about how you manage your risk around that. That's going to make it a long-term sustainable type thing for you and actually just producing income, right? Anyways, let's go over and check out. I want to do a little bit more of a deep dive into CMEs for a second, and let's go back on over here, and let's go back into the lower time frames for a second as well. 4-hour did not close. Yeah, 4-hour did not close all that well on CMEs. In fact, you are being stopped right around this region right here. This is not too helpful though. We're not really getting anything off this chart that we're not getting off of spot charts anyways. But I just would say that I would say that obviously the 200 exponential moving average is providing that. It looks like it actually wants to reject price action right there, so it would be a little more on the bear side. But again, it's more like splitting hairs at this point in time. I do want to check out the crypto fear and greed index as well. A little bit of a secondary market consideration, but it does hold some weight and has gotten some good trades in the past, especially in confluence with what we see on the technicals, which we actually do see a nice picture being painted right now. So we're taking out a 31 right now, which is still kind of deep in the fearful zone actually. But for the last 2 days, we were actually significantly lower than that, taking out an 11 and then also a 13 respectively. And to me, we're in an overall macro uptrend and we come down to these more fearful zones, you're typically going to see the same thing that you saw during 2018 when you saw those spikes up to the more optimistic zones during an overall downtrend. Those areas, essentially get sold into. Well, just like this running over here, if Bitcoin really is macro bullish, then you'd expect this to have a V bottom out of here essentially. And so far, we actually do see that. I do believe that we're actually seeing that, but we need to see this next take back above 40 or 50-ish marker where we get a little bit more neutral. That would kind of confirm it for me, and we're going to likely see that transpire with price action, but so far so good is my point. So far so good. So it's still a possibility, it's still an option, it's still something, considering, and more importantly, when we line it up with the tentacles and also what we saw in the expected moves and also what we see just in just as overall structure goes, it would kind of align with each other as painting a little bit more of a bullish picture, just in the lower time frames essentially. So I do think that Bitcoin likely does break this next level to the upside, but again, I want to reiterate, I do not trade my opinion, and this is far from a done deal right here. I mean, this is pretty intense price action as we kind of get stuck like glue onto the 200 simple thus far. Anyway, let's go check out traditional markets for a second. Traditional markets closing the week at 288 spot 81. So we got that bounce up that we were looking for coming off of yesterday. I do think that this bounce probably gets a little bit more of continuation coming into next week. However, I'm not necessarily convinced that the downside dramas are over just yet. However, for the next week, what can we expect here? We did close the weekly below the yellow 20 month exponential moving average. So this looks like rejection of the red 10 symbol coming all the way down. Closing right in the middle, not the most healthy of all time. I do think that we probably try a little bit of upside next week, maybe back up to like 291-ish region, and then probably continue the downside over the next few weeks. Looking at our higher time frames, I think it is worth to remind myself that the monthly riding over here is still above all major moving averages, which does make it difficult to get macro bearish. So a lot of people have been asking this as well. A lot of people have been asking, do you think a recession is coming? And I can't really be on the side of a recession until first and foremost we're below the yellow 20 month exponential moving average on the monthly here. You can see that we really haven't broke. I mean, we really don't break it when we're trending to the upside, of course. More importantly, though, I want to see an open and close below there if we're gonna have like a prolonged recession, like years. The biggest thing kind of holding traditional markets back from a recession right now is probably the political sphere going on in the United States, because as all the countries in the world like rush to just lower interest rates, we have a president in the United States who essentially threatens the Fed to cut rates, and if they don't do it, then he'll basically just do something in his power to actually simulate that anyways. So it's kind of a backwards way of doing it, and it shows you, and more importantly, those in power right now are going to do anything to prop this market up, coming into an election year, which you can expect. And again, this is not a political statement. I'm not a political person. I don't love or hate Trump. I don't care about fucking politics. My whole life's just motto, I suppose, is to not be reliant, especially on whoever's king of the fucking world. Because if you're relying on someone else, man, you're always gonna pass off responsibility to them, and then it's like you're not even living your own life, right? And if you just take responsibility, if something might not be your fault, but at the end of the day, man, you're gonna be in a mindset to actually make a change that will get you into a reality that you actually do want to be in. So that's kind of my point with it. Anyways, getting off that fucking tangent right there. In looking at this, politically driven market is the name of the game here with traditional markets. So I would say that all of the talking heads on like CNBC and all that bullshit talking about a recession coming from this area right here is just very premature. And typically when you hear those sorts of talking heads speak about something like this, it does imply that it typically goes those are typically on extremes where you actually do get a little bit of a counter move, if not a reversal. Here, or I also did see on the news earlier today that Jamie Dimon and a few other like major heads of banks, I believe it was, actually got into a phone call with Trump, and we're telling him, we're telling him probably what probably what we just spoke about with like lowering the interest like that. But the thing is, Jamie Dimon is a goddamn jewel of a person. He is, I don't know what it is, but he just seems like a really straight shooter. He actually goes to the same gym as me. He seems like a really straight shooter. He seems like actually a decent guy. And I shouldn't say like actually like a decent guy. I would like imply that he's not going to be just because he's like a head of a bank. No, he seems like a decent guy. More importantly, he's actually been phenomenally accurate with calling the lows on markets. It's typically the opposite way when you get like the head of a major firm saying like, yeah, we're at the lows right now, we're going to be headed up. It's usually for them to try to kind of generate liquidity for themselves in a creative way. Whereas this guy's actually accurately called, most of the major lows of the last like decade or so. Bitcoin, and back on the lower time frames. I need to take a sip of this water, man. I'm damn thirsty right now. Oh, I see Caretaker over there. I'm about to knight him right now. Just 1 second, Mr. Caretaker. There you are. You have been knighted, my friend. You have been knighted. There we go. Anyways, so reading some of these names, they are great, man. They are fucking great. Anyways, back on to Bitcoin. Other than that, I mean, I can talk about more about the technicals and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, man. At the end of the day, there's really only two things that you need to know right now. That 10,550-ish region, that 10,2 and that 10,250-ish region. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. My biases do kind of lead me to believe that we actually do break to the upside here. But hey, if you see Bitcoin come back down below 10,250, I'm not gonna be bullish off that. I'll put it that way. If Bitcoin breaks 10,250 to the downside, very, 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 very likely to come back down and test our lows around like 98, 97, and 100-ish area down around here. But for right now, as you can see, it's kind of more close to testing the and the support. So, bulls have a little bit more, more balls in their court, I suppose you could say. Anyways, I want to check out Dixie, the dollar index right now. Dixie actually headed up, so this would be a little bit more bearish for Bitcoin with the dollar trending up, because the dollar index, well, I mean, what does Bitcoin trade against? It quite literally trades against the dollar. So strength in the dollar is likely going to correlate to a weakened Bitcoin, essentially, and vice versa. Well, as we see right over here, Dixie's been phenomenally strong. Again, more of a political game than anything. But looking at this and putting on our drawing, you do see that it's been constructively working its way upwards, up this, what do you want to call this, a rising channel, for the past, year and a half. Pretty damn impressive, which typically actually do break out to the downside, but do not underestimate how long it can actually, remain within this channel and just start to crawl its way upwards and onwards. We're really looking for some sort of divergences to, before that channel actually breaks to the downside. If it does break to the downside, remember, any sort of formation is not like guaranteed to break in a certain direction. It's just more statistically likely to do that. I've seen every fucking pattern break out every goddamn which way. And right on over here, do we see any sort of divergences? No, not at all. In fact, looking at the, looking at weekly RSI, this is actually a phenomenally strong, or I shouldn't say phenomenally strong, but I should say phenomenally constructive behavior right in over here, and likely does lead us back into the bullish control zone, which was probably going to be the impetus to actually break this baby and head back up towards this region right in over here. The problem is, and one of the reasons why I really haven't been speaking too much about, Dixie as of recent times, or even traditional markets for that matter, is just because this, like I said, this market is incredibly politically driven right now. So while technicals do matter, this is one of the times where you really have to incorporate all different facets, and it's very difficult, if you are going to be a technical trader, to do something off this, unless you actually really quite literally know a little bit of insider information, or you have a good beat on that, which I'm sure some people do. Then I just don't think I think your edge is diminished if you're doing anything else, essentially. That's one of the reasons why I actually came over from traditional markets into Bitcoin land. Bitcoin land, all you really have is technicals. Maybe there's a few fundamentals here and there, a few events here and there, but for the most part, it's technicals more often than not. Whereas, if you go into traditional markets, you have to worry about fundamentals, you have to worry about technicals, of course, and then you have to worry about and then you have to worry about the political sphere as well. And all those things need to line up with each other, which can be incredibly fucking frustrating sometimes. So I found actually Bitcoin to be a much more deductive process. Anyways, just going over through, no Ripple, please. My cat hates a button. Actually, I'm curious what some of the top shitcoins are now. But first and foremost, let's go check out the Bitcoin dominance chart for a second. And we do see Bitcoin dominance. I'm going to guess that we're still trending the upside here. Yep, and I do think that we have a little bit more upside to go on this current run. Overall, we are in an ascending broadening wedge here, which is technically a bearish pattern, which typically do break out to the downside. But again, just like we spoke about with that rising channel on Dixie, these things can extend for quite some time, and it actually would imply, first and foremost, more upside. So get ready, get your pants down and get ready, Mr. Altcoin, because Daddy Bakkt is coming in right now, and he's coming in fucking dry. And looking at this right here, it does look to me like we want to head up at the very least to about 70.5%. And do we get up a little bit higher on this run? I mean, shit, maybe 71 again. Jesus Christ, I'm not necessarily certain that I'm not necessarily certain that I'm of the same opinion of that just yet. I do think that longer term this is quite bullish, but shorter term, a little bit more upside, maybe up to like 70.5%. And then medium term, actually would be looking for this to probably come back down, and likely come back down and settle into this region right here where we put in this last little low. That's gonna be the next major sell-off for altcoins, most likely, because like I said, longer term, I do believe that this is quite bullish. Looking at the monthly right here, this is this is This is pretty damn powerful price action. Keep in mind, though, I do think it's a little bit more likely that we actually spend some time, consolidating this region right here. This, these last like what 4 or 5 months? Yeah, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 months have been straight to the fucking sky. It was the breakout out of this flag formation running over here, which we spoke about all fucking last year. Finally getting the follow through on that, finally hitting our final targets on that as well, which again, it just takes time, man. It just takes time. So, it's one of those things. You just have to wait it out. But at the end of the day, it did hit the targets, and I do think that we probably grind this area, whether it's 70.5% or 71, or we get all the way to 71%, I do think that we grind this area out and then eventually actually come back down. That's when alt's going to rally up and probably hit around their weekly 10 simples. I'd imagine just hazarding a guess right now. It's hard to see until we actually, put in that top first. And then longer term, I would be looking for them to get hurt once again, actually, as the Bitcoin dominance chart, grinds its way upwards and onwards. But that is, again, longer term. When we're looking at a monthly, as we just did, that thing could be cooling off for like what, 2-3 months perhaps, going sideways. I mean, that's essentially what Bitcoin's doing right now, right? I mean, shit, if you look at the monthly on Bitcoin here, Bitcoin's been, the monthly is actually quite a sombering thing, right? We're just consolidating, we're just going sideways. But there is 2 ways of reading this, of course. And this is why it's so important to look at both the macro and the lower timeframes to understand where those major pivots are on the market. And as we see right here, we do see that as it stands right now, this is just one massive consolidation over the last 2-3 months, right? Nothing really crazy there. I'm not saying anything, otherworldly or anything like that. But what we do see is that if we actually do take out last month's low, right around about 90, it's actually all the way down at 90.50, then I would be looking for this to actually come down significantly more. So if Bitcoin does come back down around that region, I'm actually probably going to get a little bit more bearish than probably most bearish. Or would I? I'd be looking for a move down here, which is going to be actually mid sevens. So I think several people are calling mid sevens as well. I could get on that same train, but only if we actually take out the low of this guy right here on the monthly, which of course bringing that prior discussion of the lower time frames, that would be that would be extremely likely to happen if we break below 9,500 on a daily. But what happens on a lower time frame before that, bringing it once again full circle on like a 4 hour, if we close below about 10,250, well, there's you from there to the next major area. So that's what I'd say about that, and that's why I want to cover all of them, because there are going to be major implications, and I do believe that we see this resolved should I say relatively soon? I'd say probably by September on the whole, right? On the whole. So we're in the second or third week of August right now. We are in the third week of August, and we got 2 more to go. How the fuck did that happen? Some weird days. Anyways. Looking at this right here, I would say as it stands, this just looks like a consolidation to me. Looks like profit taking off the top trolling band right here. Come on, baby, get on there, you motherfucker. There we go. And usually this is actually quite a strong behavior. This is quite a strong setup right in over here. Actually getting ready to push the trolling bands to the upside, which is what you see during Bitcoin's strong trending behavior in the past prior bull markets right here during 2016 to 2017, and right in over here again towards what was this, like 2013, 2014. A little bit less exaggerated there, of course, as well. But more importantly, looking at our monthly here, we do see monthly stokes straight to the fucking sky. More importantly, and I can't stress this enough. This is actually this has really gone by the wayside, and I should really harp on this a lot more. But we do see monthly stokes getting back above the bearish control zone right and over here, which is very, 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 very significant. You'll notice that we actually the last time that we kind of emerged from this region back in December 2015 was accurately calling the bullish momentum really beginning. That was this area right and over here during I guess first month of 2016. Jesus Christ, man, I sound like fucking Elmer Fudd right now. I don't know what happened, man. I must have drank too much or something like that, because I'm really struggling with my words recently. Anyways, after this, you see Bitcoin just generally just glide on higher on a monthly. Of course, when you look at a daily, it's it's going to be all over the place, right? It's a highly volatile asset. But when you scale it back, when in doubt, pull it out and look at the higher time frames, you can see quite clearly that this is nice. This is nice trending behavior, which is what you expect to see. But let's match it up with our other oscillators, and we do see monthly RSI doing what? It's kind of just it's kind of just hanging around the bullish control zone right now. I'd like to see it get in the bullish control zone to be a little bit more confident with it, but just by the nature of kind of hanging around this territory and putting in time, it would be okay. But remember, looking at the monthly RSI right here right now, a little bit left of center. We need to actually let some more time transpire, because there's just too much time between now and the end of the month. And I could both read this as constructive, or also as a rejection of the bullish control zone. But I would say that regardless of that fact, just going sideways in this region would be overall good for a longer term. Anyways, going back on over and checking out the monthly jewel, we did get like a small buy signal a few months ago, right on over here. But not really too much else to report off, on it other than that. Anyways, back into the actual Bitcoin right over here on the lower time frames. Let me actually just read some of the comments. And let's see if we can get some discussion going. I'm not you says, hi, hey Krown, about mental masturbation. Would you, what would you like to know? I'm a professional. Would you look at the same things if you would have to play the bull in these critical moments? Hold on. Would you look at the same things if you would have to play the bull in these critical moments? Imagine a whale would hire you to play the game to the upside. How would you guess the other bulls are on this? How would you guess the other bulls on the same side? What would you look at? Oh, I mean, what are the major market movers going to be doing? They're going to be looking at a lot of the same things that we are, actually. In fact, a lot of the same things. Now, of course, they're going to be looking at it usually on higher time frames. They're not really concerned with like looking at a fucking hourly right here, but usually on the higher time frames, that's where they're going to be mostly looking at. And if they're more long-term minded, most of those guys are going to be using some variation of movement averages, something like that, just kind of get those long trending moves. But of course, when we're talking about market movers, we need to really synthesize down what that means. It doesn't just mean someone with deep pockets. It means someone with deep pockets who's like a more long-term player. It's not gonna be like market makers or anything like that. They don't care about direction. They only care about being delta neutral and basically just pulling in the arbitrage. So a completely different game. Before someone says that, because I know someone in the comments can be like, Krown, you're wrong on this. I know exactly who does. It's like, no, stop it. It's fucking stories right now. But more, how would you guess what other bulls are doing? I mean, also when you're that big, when you have that deep pockets and you're actually putting your orders into the market, you're going to find out where the other bulls are, because you're going to find out where the actual liquidity is, right? So you'll notice that a lot of these areas are tests. So when we see an area like this with a wick all the way down below the 89 exponential moving average and gets bought back up immediately and then gets fall through the next day, again, keyword above the major moving average right over here, and also creating a higher low along this whole way, that's telling you that the other bulls are rejecting us going lower. They want to support price action, and that's telling the other bulls that hey, we want to actually keep price action up right here. Just like to the downside, you can see that we have lower highs the whole way through. So both sides are kind of posturing against each other. We're consolidating. We're shaking out which side is going to win, right? So the bears, they're obviously defending the highs. The bulls are obviously defending the lows. And each and every time that we go and test one more, technically speaking, theoretically speaking, if we want to like truly mentally masturbate, one side is losing more ammo, right? Because you only have finite resources essentially, right? You only have so many coins to play with, and you only have so many dollars to spend. So over time, one side essentially just gives up. So that's what I'd be looking at right over there. Okay, alrighty. Ben Naughton says, Krown, you said you would be bearish if we took out the 9400 area, but then the weekly 21 exponential is at 8800. Would you be looking for a bounce there and maybe rally up like we did in 2017? Yeah, if we took out 9400, I would be bearish. I mean, shit, man, even if we take out like 800, I'd probably be bearish, but 9400 is like the very obvious area, the one that probably holds the most weight for like the macro. Would I be looking for a bounce off the 21 exponential moving average? Yes, probably. And of course, we still do have that that classic play available as well, as far as the 21 exponential moving average goes on the weekly right over here. So going back into the weekly and actually just putting on the 21 and taking everything else off. I wish I had an easier way of doing this. There's got to be an easier way. But looking at something like this, you do see that Bitcoin has a great history of just playing off the 21 on it, on its moves to the upside and its moves to the downside, right? It's your general kind of marker of health and strength of trend, essentially. And you do see that Bitcoin has not tested it once during this whole 2019 run, which is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Is it also a good thing? It's not necessarily a good thing either. In fact, during very, 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 very strong trending moves, you will actually hold on to your red 10 simple, and you actually do see that right now. So that's why I have a very intentful eye on the red 10 simple moving average from a weekly closing basis. As if we do lose it, which we did lose it on both CMEs and GBTC, well, usually your next target is going to be the 21, to be fair. Not only that, we also do have this available as well, the weekly jewel, right? Which the weekly jewel, and I'm going to repeat this, but everyone's probably heard it already. The light blue oscillator, every time that it gets above this critical zone right over here, above an 80 marker, then flashes red in the background, that gets a negative slope on that same light blue oscillator and actually breaks the pink slower moving oscillator to the downside. We actually do get a test down to the yellow 20 exponential moving average. Each and every time in Bitcoin's history, we have perfectly gotten this. In fact, going all the way this back in 2012 was our first example, and then we had about 10 examples going all the way through. So I'm sure that you can just kind of like see these ones just kind of spread out, I suppose. And then more importantly, in the more present price action, we do see that the same thing right on over here. We got the light blue oscillator into the critical zone, red flash in the background, get a negative slope on it, and actually break the pink along the way as well. Not only that, but we actually do have some bearish we have some bearish divergence on the weekly RSI right here, getting rejected by the exponential and getting kicked out of the bullish control zone as well. Nasty. Not only that, we do have weekly Stokes headed down as well. So there are a few things concerning here from a weekly perspective, which would make this look a lot more likely, a lot more poised to test that yellow 20 month exponential moving average. But again, until we actually break those areas on a lower time frames, once again bringing everything full circle, and this is why I talk about all those different posturing on price action. Then yes, I do believe that you'd see that expedited decision on to actually break it essentially to the downside. For right now. For right now, I'd really be neutral on the lower time frames if I'm trading them, which right now I'm not really trading them. I'm not really looking to trade this right here. Actually, let me just, this looks a lot better when you're just looking at it from that perspective. But let me put them all right back on right on over here. But again, that is consideration if we actually break that next level, which, like I said, on the 4 hour, if we break back down below about 9,800, or I mean, even 10,250 is going to be like a pretty big blow for the bulls, I'd imagine, but not a death sentence, but it'd probably make me it'd probably make me really consider taking a real short, like putting on real directional deltas there. Technically though, 9,800 is going to be a pivot, and then of course 94, 9,500 on those on our lower blue box territory, which we've been kind of playing off of for the last the last month or so, essentially, putting in lows in this region. So yeah, until that actually happens, I wouldn't necessarily be looking for that move to fully populate. But more importantly, the weekly 20-month exponential moving average is not just important because it has that history, right? It's also important for this reason, right? If we scroll out all the way on over here and we look at this baby from a from the full-on history of this, we do see this dotted trend line that the red arrows are pointed towards. That has basically been a great insight into what phase we are in Bitcoin's throughout Bitcoin's history. Whenever we're below it, it's a great accumulation phase, kind of like getting ready for those next major parabolic drives. You see this area right on over here from 2011 to 2012 essentially, or end of 2012, so almost 2013, and then boom, parabolic 1, parabolic 2, blow off your top twice, and then come all the way back down. Where do we come back down to? We come back down to to this dotted trend line and base off it literally for the next 2 years, putting in all the lows along the same trend line, and then we go parabolic once again, and then we actually break it in 2019. We actually break the dotted trend line in 2019 right on over here. And what does this look like? This accumulation phase right on over here, extremely similar to what we see right on over here, not from a fractal sense, but just from like an actual market perspective sense, like the market phase, right? And then more importantly, once we break back above it, well, Bitcoin essentially goes parabolic again. We broke back above it where at about 6,900, great number as well, and we do double up our price action from there, almost to 14,000 within the span of like the next few weeks. More importantly, this dotted trend line, right? This dotted trend line is coming in where it's coming in exactly at the yellow 20-month exponential moving average. So this brings about a couple of topics of conversation. Exponential moving average. From a long-term perspective, a macro-term perspective, I'm not really bearish on an asset for like a long downtrending move until we actually fully and formally break that, and preferably get like an open and close below there on a weekly closing basis. But it is doubly impressive to see that this yellow 20-month exponential moving average is also aligned with this dotted trend line going all the way through as well. Remember, this dotted trend line, very, 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 very important for the overall market phase, also lining up with the yellow 20-month exponential moving average, not as critical, I suppose, but it is very interesting to see them line up with each other, because it would say, hey, if we do break this area, very, 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 very likely that we get a whole new phase going on, and this is going to take a whole, take on a whole new meaning, and this is going to probably be interpreted as some sort of like massive bull trap, and at that point in time, I'm going to be, it's going to be quite nasty. I do think that 7,200 would be extremely like that, at that point in time, somewhere around 7,200 to 7,400 region, and perhaps even lower than that over time. But again, we'll get there if we get there. More importantly, one of the reasons why I'm not really bearish on the macros is not just because we're above the yellow 21, but also because we're above this trend line. And usually when we break above this trend line, as you can see, we above this trend line, right? As you can see right in over here from the breakout from 2013. Yes, we go for the next couple of years, and then once we stop going parabolic, we come right back down to this trend line and hold it up. Well, from my perspective, I think I look at this as more likely to bounce price action, more likely to act as a support, especially since we broke out so soon from it. Since the breakout from this region was so proximal, I suppose, in time. It's more likely to hold up over time. Anyways, Bitcoin coming down right now. Holy shit! Come on, Bitcoin, save it! Don't fuck yourself right now. Oh man, more nasty to be fair. Anyways, I want to say something else. Yeah, okay, let's go back on over here for a second. I also want to say something else about the greater, the greater long-term trend, and that is this, putting on the good old super guppy right here. Again, the super guppy, just a conglomeration of a shit ton of, the soupy guppy, motherfucker. There we go, super guppy. Okay, cool. And scroll on down. Where is it? Where's the one that I like? I think it's right. Yeah, I think it's right here. There we go. And we do see on the super guppy, just from a long-term perspective, the three-day has been actually pretty damn good at getting price action. It's a very simple indicator to read. When it turns green, good. When it turns red, bad. When it turns no color at all, it's kind of like neutral, right? We're in a decision phase, and you can see that not usually, but when it turns a color, it stays a color for a long time, and we're talking like years really for the greens. Right, and over here takes about 2 years from 2012 to 2014, and during 2015 to 2016, red, and then during 2015 to 2018, green, and we turned red for most of 2018, and then we most recently actually turned green right on over here in late May. So again, from a longer term perspective, by the way, this also happened around that same time that we actually took out the 21 exponential moving average on the weekly, by the way. So a lot of things kind of aligning up with that area as being a major pivot. And if I had to really put my money on it, I don't think that Bitcoin's actually like reversing the full on macro trend right here. If we do have some downside, it's probably down to the weekly 21 exponential moving average, and then we'll reassess from there. But right now, Bitcoin actually showing a little bit more nastiness on the higher time frame. Let's see what this is looking like on the lower time frames, coming all the way back down below 10.3. But remember, from the lower time frame perspective, it is, let me put these babies back on. There we go. It is this blue box territory right here that'll be kind of keeping an eye on. Like I said, it certainly wouldn't look good to lose this region right here, but it wouldn't be a death sentence either. Below this area right on over here at about 9,900, that's where I start to see problems once again. And of course, below 94, 9,500 in this blue box territory, that's where you have real big problems. For resolving the macro. So again, the higher time frames essentially. So again, at the end of the day, nothing too much, nothing too much more crazy than that. Let's see. Aquizzy says, we're expecting a pump at the daily close, Krown. I'm expecting price action at the end of the daily total close. It would have been nice to see a pump. It would have helped really resolve some of these lower time frames out. But to me, this is starting to look a little bit more like a rejection here. I mean, look at this, man. Look at this. If this 4 hour ends like this, it's gonna look like a rejection of the yellow 21. We still got 10 minutes left to go. We're gonna have a legitimate fight for it. The 21 exponential moving average is actually about $100 higher at 10,419. Remember, this is also gonna be the daily total. So let's actually look at what the daily is going to be postulated as. Daily is going to be, still rejection of the 50, man. I'm liking this less and less the way that kind of the way that's kind of shaped up right there. 12 hour looks like a rejection of the cyan 89 exponential moving average. Yeah, looking a little bit less tasty. The closer to the close that we get. And right now we're about 10 minutes away from the close. I need to take a sip of this water, man. I'm hoping that we can actually stay on until the close. Just 1 second here. I see Spliv over there says, fun fact, the Super Guppy gets its name from Daryl Guppy, an Australian trader who is credited with its development. Nice. 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 That's actually kind of cool. Daily doesn't look horrible, says Bitcoins. I don't think it looks horrible. It also doesn't look good. I'd be bullish nor bearish based off this daily total close. We don't get resolution above that next critical point. It's less inspiring essentially. What you really want to see classically speaking, what you really want to see if Bitcoin is going to put in a major low here is you want to see it actually is you want to see that first total closing as like a hammer or something like this. We already got that. But you want to see continuation and then closing above the prior high. Very important on the next one. And we don't have that right here. In fact, we are being held below the wick high of that guy. So a little bit less impressive. So again, a little bit concerning here. A little bit concerning with 9 minutes to go. But I think we're neither going to have resolution on this nor I don't know what's the opposite of resolution. Continuation maybe. I don't know. Check GBTC weekly. Yeah, we already looked at Mr. Spock. GBTC weekly did close below the red 10 symbol, as did CMEs as well, and that would be a little bit less confidence inducing here. Again, both them losing their red 10 symbol. Kind of nasty, but I am willing to wait for the final verdict on spot charts. But yes, that would be a little bit more on the bear side, of course. GBTC closing significantly below them, and I think CME is closing just a smidgen right under them. But losing it nonetheless is not is not the best look on this. Then again, if you are bullish, what you're going to say is, well, we have all these rising wicks right here, and we close in an uptick. Fair enough. I understand that. Yeah, that's great. But at the end of the day, man, it's masturbation what people are postulating right now. I see so much just bullshit being thrown around on the interwebs. Realistically, all you have to watch is just a couple levels right here, and that's it, man. That's fucking it. Can I point out a head and shoulders pattern to you? You can point out a head and shoulders to me. Is it right here? Is that your head? That your left shoulder? That your right shoulder? I see head and that's usually how I see people like postulate head and shoulders. Like any like 3 peaks in price action, head and shoulders, fucking sell it, baby. It's like holy shit. I'm happy to see it, man. But you got to post a chart feature. Let's see. Highlander says, looks like it's about to buckle up. Hang on tight. Maybe, man. I mean, maybe we're stuck between a rock and a hard place right here. The simple and the blue 3/7 exponential moving average. Which one gives away first? Buzz him. No, man. I'm happy to see what you're saying. I'm happy to see what you're seeing. Let's see. I'm wondering if I can see your charts. Maybe you're somewhere on the Discord here. I'm just scrolling down. To make sure. I mean, to be quite serious though, I don't see any head and shoulders on the charts right here. I don't see any head and shoulders. No matter which time frame. Maybe you're like on a super low time frame. Maybe like. Are we on a 10-minute head and shoulders? I don't even see it right here, man. No, I think sometimes you just got to call a spade, right? Okay, alrighty. For the daily close. Yeah, man. I mean, that's the whole point. Usually you get some good price action during the daily total close, which it looks like we're gonna get a whole lot of nothing right here, actually. Have you ever used Hike and Ashy? Says Tea Leaves. No, well, I have used Hike and Ashy, but I don't use them as like my main driver. I don't really care for it. It doesn't really add anything to my strategy. It's not bad though. I know plenty of very successful traders who actually do use it, and I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's just not for me, man. It doesn't really add anything to my trading style. It's not really optimized for my trading style. The real Bamstam says we closed above the 9 EMA weekly though. That one was more important on macro time frame. Yeah, I mean, if you ask an old timer, yeah, they're gonna tell you that. Let's go see how that one operated on the CMEs and GBTC. Just out of curiosity, I'm gonna switch it up with my yellow moving average right here. So let's see. Did we close above? Yeah, we did. Hey, not bad. Okay, so CMEs did close above the did close above the 9 EMA. Let's check out. GBTC and see what GBTC did. GBTC closed as well. All right. This is very interesting. Usually I run with the 10 simple to kind of judge that one, just because I've had better success with it. Is really just the best answer. I'm curious to see if the 9 exponential moving average gets this one right. Here's what I'll say, and this will be actually very insightful by end of week. If we do see, or sorry, I guess end of next week, I suppose. If we do see Bitcoin actually reverse here and head back onwards and upwards, especially back into the 11,000s, I'm gonna actually swap in the 9 exponential moving average instead of the 10 simple, because the 9 exponential moving average, as you can see right here, has actually gotten it right a couple times where the 10 simple has not. And I'm curious, did it get it right on the last one on CMEs? Yeah, it did. And so did the red 10 simple as well. So it's not really fair to say. Yeah, unfortunately, can't really make a judgment call off that just yet. But I'm very interested to see how this one operates. Is the 9 EMA better, or is the 10 simple better? It does appear to me that the 9 EMA does get a little bit more play here. Once it got cradled in February, that was the big turnaround. Test it right here, test it right here, test it right here. Okay, that does work. I mean, realistically, they're going to be around the same area to begin with. It's just a 9 exponential and a 10 simple. But taking this baby back off and putting on the 21, yeah, that would be a good counterpoint to what we see, and it would make me a little bit more neutral on the weekly. We really need to see it actually close first, and then we can judge it coming into next week, and that's going to tell me if that's someone to use or not. But I do want, while we are here, let's actually put on the simple moving average. I want to do a little bit more of a deep dive into this, and we'll take off all the I need the 21, but we're going to do all the other simples. So we're going to do the red 10 simple, the white 200 simple, the blue 30 simple, and the green 50 simple. And Let's go back to a daily here. Looking at the daily, we do have a pretty nasty posturing on these guys. Actually, this, if you ask an old timer, what they think of this one, this would actually be a little bit more on the bear side. However, the most important part of this, the blue 30-cent moving average, still has a neutral slope. Actually, in fact, it has a little bit of an upward slope right here. I think, yeah, it actually does a little bit, funnily enough. But more importantly, but more or less, it's neutral. And more importantly, all the other major moving averages are also essentially in a neutral posturing as well, and kind of switching around a little bit on the bearish side. With the 21 and the green 50, but that's not going to do it. We need to see the red 10 symbol below and kind of leading the charge here. So it would, if I'm looking at this posture right here, it's the bears still have a damn good case, even if Bitcoin does break this one to the upside. The reason why I say that is because when we look at this route and over here, we do see that all these major moving averages are kind of coming in right in that next range, right? So if they do get rejected, we're going to maintain those slopes, and more importantly, it's going to look like a rejection, and then you're going to get that nice trending move where the 30 simple is actually on the same side as the price action. That's going to be disastrous if that does happen. But we're really far away from that happening to begin with, anyways. So it's not really too appropriate to be talking about right now. It's kind of like more. It's like TA porn, I suppose you could say. Anyways, just something to consider if we do get back in that region. That'd be like the next major hurdle for the bulls. Anyways, let's see. We have 2 minutes until the daily total close. We have less than 2 minutes. We got 1 minute and 47 seconds left. There it is. Says zoom out on the 4 hour. May and August are shoulders, June is head. Okay, May and wait, you're looking at months of price action on the 4 hour. Why? May and June. May and August are shoulders. Okay, so May is... Okay, this is already wrong. You're going all the way... What? Hey, man. What the fuck? May is your left... May is a shoulder. Oh, my God. August is a shoulder, so that's this... What? No. Hey, man, this isn't some Quasimodo motherfucker. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do over here? Some sort of like Russian operation after fucking Chernobyl and people got chewed up? Yeah, I don't think so, man. I don't necessarily see it. Maybe I'm not seeing some here. Well, obviously I'm not seeing what you're seeing, but I'd love for you to post a chart in the Discord, and then we can actually look at it. But as if this is the same way that I'm kind of seeing it in the way that you're seeing it, you're saying that this is a shoulder, this is a double head, and a shoulder. No, that'd be wrong. What you want, you don't want it. That's the wrong. Oh God, it's the wrong shape. You want to have your left shoulder higher than your right shoulder because it's a loss of momentum over time. That's what we're really looking for. Lower highs and loss of momentum. That's all head and shoulders is. It's not like a cute little name or anything like that. It's actually telling you about the price. Actually tell you about a loss of momentum from the macro, and we don't see that here. We do see kind of like the rolling hills, so it wouldn't necessarily be considered a head and shoulders. Even then, just for shits and giggles, what would happen if we did something like this and took like a measure move based upon it? Do something like that, do something like that. All right, so where's your measure move going to be pointed towards? Back down to 5,000? Yeah, maybe. I mean, if we did break this region right over here, do I think that we're going to head down to 5,000? I'd probably take it one step at a time before that. I think that's a little bit too aggressive to say in one fell swoop. And more importantly, this whole price action just it's too elongated. Like, first things first, volume signature, wrong. Structure, wrong. Shape, wrong. Wrong. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't really flow for me, man. And perhaps I'm not looking at the right thing. Perhaps I'm on the wrong schedule here. But I'd say, at first glance, most likely not, man. I'd have to say I disagree. Anyways, let me just scroll on down here. Let me just make sure that you didn't actually post it in the Discord so I can check it. Maybe it's there. No, I don't see it. All right, all good, man. I'll stay on here for just a second more. Yeah, I mean, if you end up being right, then I'm happy to eat my words, man. But I wouldn't diagnose it as such. But like I said, if you are right, I'll be happy to eat my words and give you a nice tribute on a video or whatever the fuck you want. But no, I wouldn't identify it as a head and shoulders. Sergio Crypto says, Krown, which of your courses to buy first if I can only afford one? For most people, the technical analysis course is going to be the most bang for buck because, it's just the most all-encompassing. You're not just going to get technical analysis, but also risk management and also also position management, understanding underlying market dynamics, of course, access into the Discord, and of course, access to a couple of proprietary indicators. But if you're already comfortable with your technical analysis and you like your risk management, you like your results there, then there's not it never hurts to learn another style, but there's not, you'll probably get more out of like the options program, or if you want more instant gratification, then the Jewel is always there, but that's instant gratification. The Jewel, I would not suggest to anyone who's not already profitable with technical analysis. If you're not profitable with technical analysis, it's not save you, right? You'll probably get some good trades here and there, but it's only going to take one bad read or just one bad user error to completely fuck you, man. So that's what I'd say about that. Anyways, looks like we did just close the daily doodle. So the daily doodle is going to close well below the green 50 below the green 50 exponential moving average. Not too inspired by this one. It's neither amazing nor bad. I don't really have a opinion on this right here. We do see 12-hour stocks getting more divergence. Not more divergence, but more momentum to the upside, which is good. An overall good thing. We do see, I want to see daily right here. What is daily doing? We do see daily stocks basically in the same posture as well. Not really any sort of a change there. Not really getting too much off that chart. Daily RSI sideways. More importantly, still have that hidden bullish divergence there, but it's kind of more of a secondary consideration at this point in time. 4 hour did lose a 21. Again, kind of just grasping at straws right now to come up with a case, but I don't really see anything of too much interest here. In fact, that last 4 hour close is not good. But I wouldn't get too bearish off that. Again, we're literally in the middle of both the short term range, the medium term range, and the long term range, which makes it very difficult to take a trade on any fucking time frame, man. On any time frame. Anyways, still a few days to go. If it can pump out of nowhere, yeah, maybe. But again, that's more like that. That's more wishful thinking. I need to see things happen before I start postulating ideas like that. Is your TA course good for a beginner? It depends what kind of a beginner you are. If you want instructions on like how to, and I'm not saying this to be facetious, like I've literally gotten questions like this. If you're wondering like how to get on exchange, like how to make deposits, how to like press the green and the red, how to short, like I always get this question. Krown, does your course teach people how to short? Well, yeah, but do you mean like quite literally just hitting the red button? Because you don't need to take a course to know that, man. You can figure it out there. So I would say for like a complete beginner who doesn't know his way around an exchange, who knows absolutely nothing upon nothing, and literally just needs like a fucking dictionary or a Wikipedia, no, you're just not going to get that much out of it. It's probably better to get in after you're like a little bit comfortable with going around an exchange. A little bit of here and there, but not too much, so that you don't have too much bad conditioning, and then you can work off that. That's probably the best way to come at it. But if you're like a true beginner where you're like, hey Krown, what does the green and red button mean? We're not going to talk about that in the program, like at all. At all. And it's not going to be a good fit if that's what you need. You don't need a program. You need Wikipedia. It's what you need. But yeah. Alan Martinez says, what's up, Krown? Can we take a look at the good old DMA, or is it not relevant to your strategy? It's just, I'm more comfortable with the RSI overall, so that's why I don't really use a DMI anymore. Sorry, I should actually end this video for YouTube. Let me actually just stop recording. By the way, YouTube, I'd like to wish you a nice happy day. We're going to continue on Twitch, so take care and see you soon.